Hi, I'm Dr. Dave Janda. Welcome back to Operation Freedom Briefings. The goal of these briefings and my weekly radio show, Operation Freedom, is to provide you information the bought-off lamestream fake media is not going to touch. You can join us every Sunday at davejanda.com. You can stream the radio show live every Sunday from 2 to 5 Eastern. Just go to the upper right-hand corner of davejanda.com, hit it, it's free. Listen, great analysis, great guests, 2 to 5 p.m. Eastern every Sunday. We also have our davejanda.com platform where we upload a tremendous amount of free public information on a regular basis. And we also have our subscription service, 30 cents a day. I believe one of the biggest banks for the buck in all the internet. You can sign up for a month, $9. If you don't like it, get rid of it. But the information you get, you're not going to see, hear, read, or experience through the bought-off lamestream fake media. Today, I want to focus on President Trump's trumping of the deep state's Obamacare. Look, from the very beginning, remember, as I've outlined before, got me in a lot of trouble with the Obama administration. Obamacare was two parts. The first part was hidden in the stimulus bill. That's where all the rationing and enforcement boards were, and that was passed in March or February of 2009. The second part, the health care bill, which is where all the agencies, other agencies were created and panels and the like, were created in the health care bill, which was passed into law in March of 2010. So there are two different parts to Obamacare. Obamacare was written by the insurance industry. Oh, I know that's blasphemous. It's true. Just by way of example, look at where the stock prices of the health insurance companies were in February 2009 when the first part of Obamacare passed and where they are now. They're up 600, 800%. They've been making huge profits to the magnitude they never had prior to Obamacare. Obamacare was a gift to the insurance industry. It was a gift to the globalist syndicate, a gift to the deep state, because what Obamacare was all about was not about creating more available, more affordable, more quality-oriented health care. It was about control. If you can control people's healthcare delivery, you control their health. If you control their health, you can control every family, business, person in this country. You can control how they live and how they die. Obamacare was a Trojan horse, and it was effective for the deep state. It was effective for the globalist syndicate and their puppets within the insurance industry and their puppets within government. But they came to a screeching halt this past week. Screeching halt. Judge Reed O'Connor, based in Fort Worth, Texas, a federal judge, heard a case put forward by 20 attorney generals of different states. The case was about the unconstitutionality of Obamacare. This from Zero Hedge, Friday night, December 14th. 55-page ruling from Judge Reed O'Connor concludes, quote, "The court declares the individual mandate unconstitutional. Further, the court declares the remaining portions of the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, are inseverable from the mandate and therefore invalid." Now this from the American Spectator, David Catron. Federal judge rules Obamacare unconstitutional. The individual mandate goes down and takes the rest of the law with it. This past Friday evening, a federal judge issued a ruling that Obamacare apologists have been dreading since Texas versus the United States was filed by 20 states in the Northern District of Texas earlier this year. U.S. District Judge Reed O'Connor agreed with the plaintiffs that the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare's individual mandate, was rendered unconstitutional when Congress reduced its tax penalty to zero. He further agreed with their assertion that the mandate is not severable, cannot be separated from the rest of the statute. Consequently, Judge O'Connor declared the entire healthcare law invalid. In a 55-page opinion, he summarized his substance of his findings. Now look, let me break this down for you because this is going to be completely misrepresented by the bought-off lamestream fake media. The first thing they're going to tell you is, oh, this is some rogue judge. He didn't research the law enough. It's going to be overturned, and just keep on keeping on. And by the way, this judge is off the charts. No, in fact, he's brilliant. He's absolutely brilliant. Now, let me break this down to you because it's not going to be broken down to you by the bought-off lamestream fake media. It's all going to be smoke and mirrors. It's all going to be a bunch of deep state propaganda garbage. Now, here we go. Remember when Obamacare was being passed? Obama kept using the term, it's like, and his advisors, Gruber, the guy who said, oh, all Americans are stupid. Remember that guy? Or Ezekiel Manuel. Ugh, don't get me started. Obamacare is like a three-legged stool. Remember that emphasis on the word stool. They were talking about what you sit on. I'm talking about something else you do. It was stool. And this judge pointed it out. This three-legged stool that Obama kept pointing to was, one leg was Obamacare, this massive federal government program, okay, with all the rationing boards and the enforcement boards. And tied to that, in order to make it work, was something called the second leg of the stool, called the mandate. The mandate that said, you, American citizen, must buy this product. Now, where in American history it has ever been litigated that you have to buy a product, I'm not aware of, because there's something called the Commerce Clause that says that Congress cannot pass a law that forces people to purchase something. Yet, Obamacare, first part of the stool, second leg of the stool, mandate, had the mandate associated with it. And in fact, in the body of the legislation, it said the two cannot be separated. They were inseparable. Inseverable. They cannot, they're stuck together. You got one, you got the other. Have to have the two. And then the third leg of the stool was what Obama called the penalty, that if you don't buy, there's a penalty. Well, he called it a penalty until it went to the Supreme Court in 2012, right? So the healthcare law passed in March 2010. But we have to have three legs of the stool for this legislation. The big bureaucratic Obamacare program that strips healthcare freedom from every person, right, is not affordable, available, or more quality-oriented healthcare that developed from Obamacare. Okay. Then there's the second leg of the stool, the mandate. You have to purchase this, even though it violates the Commerce Clause. And the third is the tax. If you don't buy this, you're going to be penalized or taxed. Well, why is that distinction important? Because that's what Judas Roberts did on June 28, 2012. Remember that court decision, right? Initially, Roberts had signed off and said, Obamacare is unconstitutional when they heard the arguments reportedly. And then 2 days before the decision came out, which was months later, he flipped his vote. Why? There's a lot of theories on that. I believe it's called human compromise. And I believe, based on what I've heard, he was pressured and he flipped because it meant the health and welfare of his family. I'll leave it there. And he flipped. And what he did is he created this judicial argument out of vapor. And here's what he said. Obamacare is not so much a healthcare insurance delivery program. No, what he said is Obamacare is a revenue-raising device permitted under Congress's taxation power. In addition, the court ruled that the mandate part, you must buy Obamacare, the second leg of the stool, the court ruled that was unconstitutional. But because it was, this is where Roberts came in, this is the argument he created, because, and this is what drove Scalia nuts and Alito nuts and anyone who knows the Constitution nuts. What Roberts said is, well, Obamacare, the big massive healthcare program, is inseparable. It even says that in the law. It's inseparable from the mandate. And yeah, the mandate's unconstitutional, but because those two legs of the stool are tied to the third leg of the stool, what Obama called a penalty, that then he started to call it a tax based on what Roberts said, well, because it's linked to the tax and Congress can tax people, then it makes it constitutional. So what happened? Well, Obamacare went into effect. Your premiums went through the roof. Availability went down because people were shoved into Medicaid. And remember, as we pointed out before, folks that have Medicaid have poor healthcare outcomes and have a higher propensity to die than people that have no insurance at all. And why is that? Because the four peer-reviewed published studies, medical studies that show this, is because Medicaid is a ration-based program. And that has always been my problem with Obamacare. The heart, the soul, the core of Obamacare is based on the most unethical and inhumane means of cutting healthcare costs, the rationing and denying of care. All right. So in 2017, when we went through that whole goat rodeo, remember, we're going to do Ryan Care, and let us be grateful that President Trump, initially he started to talk about Ryan Care, but as many of us from the front line of healthcare delivery pointed out to the president, Ryan Care is nothing more than Obamacare that's going to have your name on it. It's a massive federal bureaucracy. It is not a free market approach. It doesn't empower patients. It will not decrease costs. It will not increase availability. No, wrong. Go with health savings accounts, direct primary care, covering pre-existing conditions, having insurance companies compete rather than collude and be able to sell across state lines, just as a fraction of what was discussed. President Trump ended up listening to those of us in the front line that were yelling about this and ended up backing off his support of Ryan Care, where Ryan Care did not pass. But he said, I'll tell you what, just make it so that people aren't taxed if they don't use it, okay? Just stop the tax. This was brilliant. This is brilliant. So Congress ended up getting through the fact that, okay, we're going to keep the first leg, this massive federal bureaucracy. We're going to keep the mandate, but we're going to make it so that there isn't a tax. And this is where the Judge OConnor in Texas came through. Because what he did is he said, okay, kind of a reverse Bass-Ackward, the Bass-Ackward logic that Roberts used, Judas Roberts used to make Obamacare constitutional. This judge, Reed O'Connor, used it against Roberts. And what he said is, okay, I'll tell you what. You even said in your decision that the mandate was unconstitutional, but the only reason why Obamacare was constitutional because it was attached to the tax, the third leg of the stool. Well, because the third leg of the stool has been cut off because Congress has now passed a law that says no tax, no penalty, that means what's left is the first and second leg of the stool. And you, Supreme Court, have already ruled that the mandate, which is inseparably linked to the bureaucratic Obamacare program, well, because it's linked to it, the mandate you've already said is unconstitutional because it violates the Commerce Clause, and because it is inseparably linked to Obamacare, guess what? All of Obamacare is unconstitutional. It was brilliant. So all these pundits are out there saying, oh, don't worry, it's going to go to the appeals court and it's going to be overturned. No, it's not. I've talked to a couple constitutional law experts, and here's what they tell me. This decision is going to go to the 5th District Court of Appeals. And meanwhile, while President Trump has been saying, look over here, the 9th Circuit is really bad, which it is, guess who's been loading up the 5th Circuit Court of Appeals with judges? Bing, bing, bing. Donald J. Trump. So right now, there are very few Obama-appointed judges and Clinton-appointed judges in the 5th Circuit Court of Appeals. It's my understanding that what's going to happen when it goes in front of the 5th Court of Appeals, because of the way in which this judge brilliantly wrote up his opinion and his legal step-through process of why this is unconstitutional, the experts I've spoken to say it's not going to be taken down. It's going to be held up on appeal. And then the bought-off lamestream fake media is going to say, well, it's going to go to the Supreme Court and they're going to rule. Oh, really? Because remember, they have to vote to even hear the case. And here is where Trump's 2 appointees come in. Gorsuch and Kavanaugh. And what does this do? It finally gets Roberts off the hook. Boom. You're going to see a lot of smoke and mirrors about the Pelosi's and the Schumer saying, oh, millions of people, tens of millions. In fact, the AMA just came out with a thing. AMA, part of the deep state, by the way, bought and paid for. The AMA came out and said tens of millions of people are going to lose their coverage. Wait a minute. The head of Medicare and Medicaid services came out just the other day and said 8.8 million people signed up for Obamacare. Not tens of millions. They're acting like it's going to be 100 million people. They're going to be, okay, 8.8 million people. Obamacare, and because the way the judge wrote this, as opposed to the way globalist judges write and say immediate injunction, he didn't do that. This judge, O'Connor, said, look, this is the opinion. We're not going to make this an immediate injunction, so no one's going to lose their insurance. It's going to be in place and can go through the appeals process. And then once that appeals process is completed, then my decision holds. In the meantime, it gives us time to implement other alternatives. Now look, if you listen to my radio show Operation Freedom, we've had David Powell on, who's an insurance guru, hates the big insurance companies. But he has worked out a program. It's been implemented in a number of states. His state of Kansas, also I believe Iowa, Idaho, a number of other states have taken it on, that focuses on free market reforms that forces insurance companies to compete rather than collude. Well, here's the interesting thing. When his program has been implemented, within 48 hours, people have sometimes 5, 6, 10 times the number of choices that are far more cost effective to choose from than the Obamacare option. The plans are out there to be utilized. They're just sitting on a shelf that the insurance industry doesn't want pulled off the shelf because guess why? Because they don't make as big a margin on it. Look, and as far as this pre-existing condition problem is concerned, the vast majority of folks have employer-based health insurance. It was made law back in the early 2000s that if you have an employer-based plan, pre-existing conditions are automatically contained. Now, for those of us and those folks that don't have employer-based plans, prior to Obamacare, there were 35 states that had developed high-risk pools. So anybody that had a pre-existing condition was covered. Obamacare got rid of those. All we have to do is reinstitute those in the remaining 15 states, or if you believe Obama, 56 states. The rest of the states just have them. It's been estimated the cost of a high-risk pools for everybody in the country, for every state, would cost about $44 billion. Fair amount of money. We're spending over $2 trillion on Obamacare. It's a drop in the bucket. Bottom line, what this judge did, Reed O'Connor, combined with Trump not biting on the Ryan Care apple and just going for the tax cut, what has happened is your health care freedom has been restored. This is monumental. But the bought-off lamestream fake media is going to try to spin this as you're going to lose your health care. Don't buy that. That's garbage. That's lies. That's propaganda. That's deep state fear-mongering to get you in the frame of mind where you don't fire ahead with your own freedoms. This is really important. It's really good news. I'd like to thank you for joining us today. I hope you'll join us for our radio show 2 to 5 p.m. Eastern every Sunday. You can stream it live free at davejanda.com. I hope you'll join us on the free side of davejanda.com and also the subscriber side. As you'll know, these videos are not monetized. And I don't think they are ever going to be monetized. And the reason, we just got a ruling back from YouTube, they're not monetized because the channels that have stolen my original content that are monetized are blocking my ability to be monetized. So the way you support us, if you like this content so we can continue, is you become a subscriber at davejanda.com, $9 a month, 30 cents a day. It's an incredible deal with the amount of content you get, extra shows you get, insight you get, and I hope you'll join us at davejanda.com. The free side, and if you can afford it, the subscriber side. I'd like to thank you for your time, and as we sign off every segment, dream big and dare to fail. Thanks for joining me today.